brought it up, leaving them, packing up, but now he's packing up.
I love it.
Production and headed to like Louisiana.
Loves around Thanksgiving and this farm.
This is for Erica.
You can practice this rotational farming where we got chickens for a few months and then they move the chickens to another field and right on the house. And then they.
David should be here. He said he.
And then the turkeys, and it was always
This one of the
sad.
things where if he's not here.
One of you guys has
Watching
to.
the turkeys,
figure out-
See,
turkeys.
Senior guy.
Driving to work one day and.
You know,
That's good. Yeah,
Do we?
but yeah, it's an interesting thing that they.
just remember the smell. Everyone, it smelled like farmland.
Money, money, money. We lived in a town for 2 years in Montana, central Montana, population 500.
(6:30),
We have.
so we should probably start talking formally.
So are you gonna be the chair?
Yes, no.
Sir.
Planning commission rules say is when the chair and vice chair are absent, then a substitute is selected amongst the group voted in for the night. Now, David did say he was gonna be here, so he may just be late. So this could be a 5-10 minute temporary chair position.
Do we have a senior serving member?
No.
So it takes a nomination in a second and.
Yeah, this talk about seniority, although when I go back in my history banks, when this has happened before, I think the commission kind of considered that just as a way to.
Right, is that?
Here it comes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Saved by the bell.
You're off the hook.
the tension is over.
No talking until he gets here. It's after 6:30.
Well, that was kind of fun. I see the nervous faces of the.
Hi, sitting in.
Do we have the opening script for me? I don't have it memorized at this point.
Oh, there's, it's just, at 6:30, the meeting begins. And then we go through the agenda.
Excellent. We have no one to give public comments. That's great. Well, it is indeed 6:30. And so we will begin our planning commission meeting. If there's no one to give public comment, we will
Is
move
there
on.
anybody online?
Yeah, there's
thank you.
nobody on Zoom either.
Lovely. Then we'll move on to the agenda.
You're German.
I am pulling up on my end right now. Right, well, of course, our first agenda item is the planning commission meeting minutes of January 13th. And does anyone have any corrections or concerns? Yes.
Maybe correction on the others. If, I know, I see we got Jay on there and Nick. This was the one where I interviewed too or not? Yeah. So whether I should be on the others,
Oh, yes.
Fair enough.
there you go.
Do we need to move to amend that? Or we just do it?
Yeah, that would be the appropriate thing, that everybody concurs with the suggested amendment.
I always just do, Make a motion, we accept it as amended.
Was that a motion?
That was a motion.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor of accepting the minutes as amended?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Done. Lovely. Well, that brings us around to the planning director decisions that we were previously emailed. Unless there's anything that we need to cover on those.
Nothing too exciting.
Yep. On that. And that brings us around to our discussion items, the first of which is cost-saving changes to the new police station design.
Yes, so there's a memo in your packet that talks about this. And Sid with Kenzie is on Zoom land in case there's a question for our consultant. And Mackenzie discussed some potential changes with me. And I think one of the goals was to not have to open the land use hearing again. But because of how this police station saga has continued with the city and the planning commission was involved, I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to observe and be aware of these changes. Make sure nobody has any heartburn. In reviewing them as staff, I really didn't have any heartburn with it, and I kind of explained my reason for that in the memo. And I can talk about each reduction. It's a pretty short memo. You didn't have a whole novel of stuff to read, so I'm assuming you're able to kind of think about it. But we can, get to the details more if you want. The one potential recommendation I have is for change number 2, omission of the concrete surfaces. There was the concrete pad for a future shipping container or Connex box. And there was nothing in the plans that had a wheel stop or anything, so. It's a little wheel stop, end of the parking space in front of that pad area, but otherwise. It's any issue. But this is an opportunity to discuss, to see if you see an issue and.
What's the cost savings?
What's your number?
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably a good question for Ed.
Good evening. Can you see me on your screen? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, you're getting some echo though.
that's on our,
Oh, okay.
When there's no echo, I can go ahead and kind of provide some additional context.
You're good.
Okay, so the item number 2 that Jacob mentioned, which is the graveling of the future potential Connex box area, I believe that savings right around $20,000 or $25,000. And part of the reason for that specific modification we're seeking is just because we don't know exactly what the specs of that Connex box are at this time. We wouldn't want to install a pad and then have to go back and modify that pad at a later time to accommodate that specific, the specs on that specific Connex box. So it's kind of a future proofing by omitting the paved area from that location.
What is the savings for the fencing?
Let me see here. The changing for the north fencing type, kind of from that more decorative fence to the chain link that's consistent around the perimeter of the site, it's about $30,000 or so.
The differential between the two?
Correct.
And just while we're at it, what's the difference for the planter change?
The planter change. Let me go through my lengthy spreadsheet here. So give me just a second. The planter change is about $35,000 change.
Well, my question was about the whole thing. What'd you say on that one? I'm sorry.
35,000, correct. And these are in current day dollars. Just something to keep in mind when we're looking at this.
Why don't we finish it up with the seat walls?
Sure, seat walls are 25,000 or so.
Okay.
And part of the driver here was to pick items that still kind of provide that context and some pedestrian friendly amenities without having to go to larger items such as right of way improvements and seeking modifications for those kind of really the benefits we'd like to provide with the site development.
And just so I know what a seat wall is, in the photo, in the memo, are those the sort of black bollards in front of the lobby, or are they the gray portions that sort of border the foliage?
Yeah,
Or-
they're the gray portions that are in the pedestrian plaza. So they're kind of rectangular running east to west. I'm not sure if there's a site plan available you have in your packet, but if you do, there's a site plan and there'll be a measurement of 120 feet in that pedestrian area, and just above that is an example of where Ben should be replacing a seat wall.
Gotcha. That makes sense, because the black bollards, I think, are security features, right? Yeah.
Correct, at the vestibule entrance.
Yep.
Correct.
Good deal.
Sid, I'm new to the commission and so what is the total cost of the anticipated development of everything? It's just so to build the new police station and all, what are we looking at the cost?
That I do not have in front of me. I kind of just have the specific VE line items that we've been looking at. So I can't provide an overall construction cost, but we could provide that in some follow-up information. I know there's a budget approved by council, so we're trying to stay as tight to that as we can.
Okay. Appreciate. Well, I can look up I'm sure the numbers are around. I'll look it up.
Jacob, what are we? Is this more just information for us, or are we supposed to make a recommendation or what?
Yeah, I'm providing this information to you. And if the planning commission's like, yeah, cool. Then no action's needed. If the planning commission it gets red in the face and starts throwing chairs, then we may need to consider further action. So it's really, I'm anticipating there's not gonna be chairs thrown. And you're not gonna be frowny faced over this. And but like the memo says, it's an opportunity for comment and concern. If there is none and this totally makes sense to you, then we're cool.
I've been involved with the budget during this whole process for about 2 months. We're trying to look at everything we can cut just to make it work. So these were nice numbers when you get 35 grand. That's pretty easy to say, yeah, let's take that. And I don't think we're diminishing the structure, what you see there in the plans that much. And it's trying to get down and there's some things in there that were obvious we didn't need. When we went through the whole thing, we're down to the end of it now, so we have a meeting once a week and it should be something coming out about the total on that.
I think I'm in the first category that you mentioned, Jacob.
No action on thrown.
I don't feel the need to throw any chairs. And we only have the money to spend we have, so gotta make it work.
As long as it's not a thing where, down the road, they're gonna be more maintenance and cost more later, then I think it's a good.
Good point.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm just worried about the aesthetics of the fence, of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, my hope would be, and perhaps I'm being naive about fences, but
Yeah.
if somehow the city comes into a pile of cash later on to change the fence, like that's not a major architectural change.
upgrade it.
Yeah.
These are budget amounts too, and as they go along and they go out for bids, they may be getting better prices, especially in this economy. And so they may find themselves a little money ahead, and then you can have an add back. The most priority one you would want back, you would add that back in, so.
I mean, it's still talking about doing the chain link fence with the slat or whatever they call it, right?
Yeah.
Well, and this change is now a cohesive fence all the way around rather than two different fence types, so.
Which might actually be nice, yeah.
Some might see that as a
Yeah.
benefit, so.
Pretty stout stuff.
Yeah. I am sure no matter what fence we go with, someone will have an objection. so.
That's, yeah.
Counselor Hubbard, I'm just curious myself, there was a certain amount of money set aside for the project, and that was years ago, I think. And, or is it trying to keep within that confines of what has been set aside?
Yeah, we don't have any money to
There's,
spend more than what we have, and
are you, I mean, I'm wondering if you can spend less, is it, this is something that's adds up to less than, I think it was 12 million.
yeah, I don't have all the numbers, so I can't, it fluctuates, and from what I hear from John, I don't have all the facts, so I can't really speak to that.
We're gonna get any revenue from the side by sides?
Really, there's a lot of tickets. If you
Sorry.
get one, we're gonna,
And what is the timeline again, so that when everything, cleaning the, I think the property is already,
the property is already under acquisition by the city. It's been cleaned up.
Cleaned up.
We need to go through, have a remediation. Dealt with, talk to asbestos and such,
Mhm.
and that has to be taken care of, and then, from what I understand, we'll go in for a
Excuse me.
demolition and grading permit before we get the building permit. It's essential, though, that the win for permits before April, because code changes in April, which will have a huge budget impact, and then we're might as well walk away from this one. So it's a serious time.
and those permits are issued by whom?
The state of Oregon.
State of Oregon.
It's something coming down the line, has to be adhered to, and
Right.
there are changes that are just gonna be consequential to construction.
Building code updates.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons, the team was anxious about getting that land use hearing, done early. And why, despite December already being kind of full, we added that to it, just in case there was appeals and stuff, there was some wiggle room to have more hope in, getting it done before April, but it wasn't appealed. And so far, so good. Okay, well, it sounds like
Sounds good.
everybody's kind of okay with the
Setting.
changes.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want us to make a formal fine with it motion, or you could just,
you know, you could if you wanted to. I don't think it's necessary, but it certainly doesn't hurt. If for some reason it comes up in the future, when someone wants to argue it, at least you have that formal action.
Vote for inaction. It's kind of taking action for the inaction.
that sounded like a motion for voting for inaction.
I didn't understand it, but
I think that was a motion to say that we're fine with the changes as presented.
that's a good motion.
I'll take that as a second. All right,
Aye.
and there it is. Excellent. That moves us on to further discussion of the planning commission policy, various ordinances governing that. We got a memo from Jacob outlining the changes, one of which comes out of an Oregon state law change that means that we no longer we are no longer prevented from having two voting members who are engaged in real estate work, as long as we have more than 5 people on our board, and we've got 7, so we're good. And then the other changes are about the vacancy and removal and attendance process that we discussed earlier in the fall. And so we've got two options that Jacob kindly synthesized from that. And it looks like this is around what it means for someone, for a commissioner to unexcusably absent, the kind of thing that would potentially get someone recommended for removal to the city government. So one option is that someone is inexcusably absent twice in a calendar year for monthly scheduled meetings, and that means they don't provide at least 8 hours notice of an anticipated missed meeting. Jacob notes that he's not a fan of that because then we need to keep track of that. Yeah.
Can I ask a question though for Jacob? On your comment, you said it felt it should just be two. I'm not sure if I understood your comment.
Oh, I was was an evolution of over the discussions that we had prior. And I believe that before we talked about I think maybe 4 times without providing notice. And it was like, well, this becomes kind of a tracking thing. So in this draft, I reduced it to 2. Because you kind of have a warning, but then the second time. Now, immediately after preparing this draft, the next day, I'm like, oh, I need to change it. Well, I'll just get it to the commission. Because I thought about it more. And I almost would recommend just eliminating that part and just sticking with missing 4 regularly scheduled meetings in a calendar year.
So the second.
Yeah, because it's simple and straightforward.
And then you
Well, I
don't
like
worry
that.
about excused or unexcused.
Yeah, I just,
A mix of you're either sick or you're planned vacation, like.
Yeah.
and it's, you're volunteers, right? I don't want to be that harsh on volunteers. Oh, you want to volunteer for the city? Well, why don't you go to the plaza and find some dog doodle and consume it before us? I don't want to do that.
That escalated quickly. Yeah.
I feel like that's.
No, I mean, I like the second one better because, I mean, yeah, there are some absences that definitely would know 2 days ahead of time. But there's going to be some for people, myself included probably, that I don't find out until the afternoon of the meeting that there's no way in heck I'm going to be able to get here.
Well, I think we should have, I mean, if the absences are a problem, that we have a discussion before it's, what's happening, rather than just you're gone.
Well, if I'm reading this correctly, missing 4 in a calendar year would allow the rest of the board to recommend that person be removed. It wouldn't automatically remove them.
That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, and we'd have to have a hearing with the council, and really that's an opportunity for discussion. So right now, it's if you miss 3 consecutive meetings. And kind of we talked about, and because we talked about, it should be measured in a year period. We talked about a variety of things. And I just felt, well, it needs to be simple. We don't want to make everything too complex. And I just felt 4 meetings if you met every month, that's 1/3 of the total meetings in the year. So that's, if someone,
Substantial.
because they can't make those for whatever reason, I think that's the point where you need to kick it up and have a more formal discussion.
Yeah.
And it may just be the person had a bad year. And that's what we get out of the hearing. Or the person's like, well, I thought I'd be able to do this, but I just can't. And by the way, if we look at our attendance record from 2025, nobody missed 4 meetings. So nobody would be, in the doghouse, so to speak. So it just seemed like it seemed fair and simple to me. And that's why my recommendation would be to not worry about the inexcusable absence thing, but just stick with the 4 per calendar year.
I think that makes sense. I mean, as someone who's certainly missed my share of meetings. And my feeling would be, if I use myself as an example, if I'm missing 25% of the meetings in a year, it's fair for people to ask me what's going on and for that to be a like real conversation. So I think that makes sense.
So,
And these are just the county council, commission meetings, not any, the conjoined joint meetings.
yeah, it only regularly scheduled meetings, and that would be clear in the language. So yeah, joint meetings, ad hoc meetings would not count.
Yeah, that seems fair.
So that'd be 14 meetings as scheduled right now. Per year. One, another thing that we discussed or that I'd like to see is, you know, on the B, which you have there, the commission may request. The hearing be initiated by the city council. I'd like to see language that the commission can refer somebody for removal with a majority vote. Because it doesn't really define anything to that effect.
May refer
Someone to be removed by majority vote to the council.
Basically,
Or something other than absence?
Well, yeah, that is, yes. Be something of that.
So if it's, okay,
basically just saying how you reach the threshold of B. Like, it's gotta be a majority vote
Yeah.
to qualify.
It's just the, I mean, you've had issues on the commission in the past that, you know, it's more for behavior modification if people who have different thoughts or trying to do their own agenda.
You have like situations of misconduct.
Yeah, or, you know, that, or, you know, just somebody that is going off on a runner themselves and with an agenda that, you know, is not what the commission.
Well, so it would be up to the council has the power to appoint and to
Yes,
remove.
but this is a referral to the council for removal with a majority vote.
So right now, it kind of says that the hearing is what's necessary for the council to do that. So this would be separate from the hearing?
No, well, before the hearing starts, or anybody, you know, let's say, you know, I go, you know, start doing stuff and being a really, you know, detriment to the commission. And which, you know, could happen. Then, you know, it could be referred to the council by majority vote from the rest of the commission.
And I think B lets that happen currently.
I would agree that
It does, but it doesn't spell out, you know, a majority vote, it just says commission.
And we,
But by an approved
Yeah.
motion for such,
an approved motion would have to be motion seconded and,
That's
right?
true.
and just by our voting rules, that's gonna be the majority of voting members.
scans. And the only other change is, it's down at the bottom of the page, having the chair and vice chair be one-year terms that can't be held consecutive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we should talk about that too. I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about, Scott, before we end the total discussion.
I understand, I overlooked that.
Oh, okay.
The,
Okay, so you're cool now.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, so that's another thing that we talked about. But I did put in a kind of a protection clause, you know, if let's say we're dealing with some recurring thing, like, I don't know, the waterfront development. And we come to January and we have this momentum going, we have these series of permits. The commission may be like, well, because of what's going on right now, it's in the public interest to not change that. So that's why I added that sentence to at least elicit the conversation if it makes sense in that year. Otherwise, you would make sure that that changed.
I think it's good because it sets the standard, but then does provide kind of the escape clause in case people were extenuating circumstances, like you said.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that.
What I'd like to also see on that is that it'd be with the consent of the council.
I don't think it needs to be have the council because they're not not involved in our election of the chair or vice chair at all.
I just don't want to, I don't want to make it as, super easy for it, is what the idea behind that. I mean, I've witnessed things, across these commissions over the last few years, so
Just don't want
just my reservations about it.
Well, I mean, I get it. I go back to the fact that when we elect our chair and vice chair, the council has nothing to do with that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't,
So if we decide we want to go for another year, I don't see why the council would need to be involved in that.
It's just looking for a mechanism just to make it a little harder.
I mean, you could take in the green text there, you could, instead of commission, you could say council. So the council would have to be who finds it in the public interest, but you're right, it's not necessary.
I think
It would be a shift in how we do our chair and vice chair, because right now, I don't even know if the council can, I know they don't elect our chair and vice chair. I don't even know if they can remove a chair and vice chair, right?
Well, they can remove them.
They can remove them from the board, but they can't be like, they can't say you're on the board, but you're not a vice chair or whatever.
It would also add a bit of a delay in getting the new chair and vice chair in
Right.
place.
And
I like simplicity.
there's some semi-autonomous, and so I'd like to maintain as much of that semi-autonomy as we can. So,
one thing we could do from an efficiency standpoint, but to include the council. So you could amend the sentence to read something like the chair and vice chair shall not hold consecutive yearly terms unless the commission, including discussion with the council liaison to the commission, finds it's in the public interest to do so. At least then you're including the council liaison. So if the liaison wants to, be like, well, it just makes sure you get that input, and then that provides that link to the council.
doesn't the council liaison already have the right to participate in discussions anyway? So I don't think.
They get to vote.
I need to
do.
specify that.
They don't get to vote.
I mean, we would,
It's no vote though.
Hmm?
There's no vote from the.
right, there's no vote from them, but I mean, if I think Jacob's point was we would want to get the viewpoint of the liaisons, and if that's already
Most of the
standard
liaisons have not ever been shy to speak up if they've got an opinion.
Yeah.
Baked in.
That's not the right to achieve, Russ.
It would be a redundancy,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm fine with the way it's written or the way the green text currently is written.
And so because this is something that the council will adopt, I can at least take the inexcusably absent part out for discussion at the March joint meeting.
That's good.
Then they'll be aware of it, and we can massage it as necessary and get it adopted.
So do we need to make a recommendation? Submit it the way you've got it now or what?
That would probably be a good idea now. Because we don't make decisions at the joint meetings, and if there's no significant evolution at the joint meeting, then we're free to get the ordinance in place and there's a couple other things that I would probably add in the ordinance. We're trying to make the terms gender neutral. And looking at elsewhere in the planning commission chapter, I saw, well, some other words we should probably change them here. And then also, it's not a change of text, but moving text for good housekeeping. When we adopted our current historic landmark rules, our historic preservation rules, many years ago, we used the state model code largely, which included the Historic Landmarks Commission rules. And it really doesn't belong in the development code, just like the planning commission stuff's not in the development code, it really belongs in this other chapter. So we'd just be taking that and moving it to this section.
It doesn't change the actual.
Yeah, it doesn't change the text. So I just wanted to let you know that's probably a thing I would do. But if you want to make a recommendation of as written, except for the inexcusable absence aspect, yeah, that would be, if you're so inclined, that would be helpful.
All right, I move to recommend to the council the changes as expressed in this documents. Absent the rule of the inexcusable absence, going with the number 2 example to council.
That is a motion.
Second.
And that's a second.
Aye.
Done. And that brings us around to planning department activity report.
Oh, yeah, that is it's not even on my version of the agenda. Our agenda program is kind of finicky. And that is a relic from when we had monthly staff reports. They are now quarterly. And we don't have anything this month, so.
Quickly disposed of that, and that we don't have anything on the agenda under proactive items, but if anyone wanted to talk about the proactive items, we could.
We do.
We do. I didn't see it there.
Yeah, and Scott provided something to us. If you could take one and pass it down. I'm assuming.
I will. I've been substituting in a classroom and tried this. However, the papers were stacked by the teacher where the kids needed to take 2 pieces of paper and then pass on the packet. And a parent volunteer today, I asked to staple in a pile, staple all these together. So
Yes,
it's good to know that the planning commission can handle.
I believe it's one piece of paper.
Yeah.
So Scott, I think this is what you submitted. I believe the helm is yours.
On the architectural standards? Through that yet?
Yeah, I don't, does anybody want to talk about architectural standards before we go to vacant and underutilized storefronts? Well, the silence tells me no.
Well, I'm curious, so how did it become a proactive item? I mean, and as a little brief.
Sure. So my understanding is that we sort of, as a commission, generate the proactive items ourselves, the
Right.
things that we're interested in taking on. At least from my limited time here, my perception is that one of the impediments to proactive items is that due to public meeting laws, we can't really meet together or
Yes.
talk together on these things outside of these meetings. So it's sort of, we go off, a little work on our own, and then we come back with a document like this.
Sure, so I
I mean,
think,
I think it came about because the architectural standards that we have are so limited to the, may call it wrong, but the Riverfront District or whatever the actual name is. And the thought was, should the architectural standards apply to other parts of the city, and looking at it And to what degree do we do it? How broadly do we go? And how do we start? I mean, Jacob brought up the idea of, I guess, was the windows or, something like that of doing it and deciding, because there's been some development in some places that people have thought probably shouldn't have happened in
Okay, sure.
that way.
Well, there's,
I think that's kind of the genesis of it.
Of that particular, sure, I'm familiar with how the proactive items,
gotcha.
I did get on, I was just curious about this particular one, because I do understand about the vacant and underutilized, how that's been on, and just, anyway, thank you.
And I think architecture standards was, aside from the homeless camping one, which obviously that's completed now, was one of the first
That was,
the house built
Yeah,
315, actually,
actually-
the first one we had.
if it jogs my memory, yeah, it does go further back, yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind
But
of,
yeah, it was about the homeless stuff,
Yeah.
Wow.
okay, well, other than discussing how we got there and
Yeah.
more on the architectural standards.
No, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Scott, for respecting that item.
It's had some value to it. Yeah. I just threw this together because on the inventory that I'm looking to create, I'm just trying to figure out what type of data I want to capture, we want to capture in the inventory. Those tell us. A lot of this is coming from Astoria, from their planning. This is they did an inventory prior to doing their code. And so some quite a bit of this is from that. Just wondering if there's anything else that anybody can think of. Just take it with you, come back. I'd like to on the joint meeting, if we could put the vacant storefronts on that, if I could, can't.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, the proactive items are always default items for the joint meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be
Yes.
sure it's there.
And just for a quick heads up, if we're looking at Astoria as a gold standard for this, I'm not sure if we are. They looked at both residential and businesses, and they included all businesses in their inventory, what they did. Last December, Pendleton did some things, looked at the same issue. And what they brought up was, I mean, their code was not as extensive as what Astoria is. So that's something we'll have to look at and discuss on the joint meeting. So I just want to let you know about that.
yeah, I did see an OPB story on Pendleton using a carrot and stick approach to try to encourage people to use their vacant spaces, but if you let it stay vacant too long, then I think they fine you or something.
Yeah, they do that in Astoria too.
Okay.
And they do forgive a lot of it. They also, need to discuss, enforcement. Who's
Yeah.
gonna enforce these things? Penalties.
Yep.
And that type of stuff. I mean, it's the end product would probably be is, code.
Yeah.
New code. So, and I've looked at our code a number of times, but I don't know if there's other departments, they might have code in it, and different codes in it. That's what I was kind of told that I should check that out too. So I'm gonna email you tomorrow and Jacob and about these things. And, if you let me know. I'll be a little more articulate.
Well, I think it's, to your point, I think it is a good idea to don't just focus on that story and look at a couple other ones and kind of see, because it's what works for Astoria or what works for Pendleton may not be what works for us, but it may be a mixture or some kind of a, compromise between them. As we've talked about it over the years now, the idea of using a carrot and stick approach has been somewhat kind of a basis for us of thinking that way.
I think this is a good list to get an idea of what we're talking about. Off the top of my head, the only sort of question I would have, and this may be covered by vacancy status, is whether we are interested in knowing, is this a facility that's open to the public or not? It doesn't matter how often you're open. If a place is open to the public one day a month, is that not vacant?
Well, and it's also like with the food trucks, one has got, not being used,
Yeah.
is that, what impact does that have?
Yeah.
It's just a different type of businesses. You have to, I guess,
So I guess,
you want to handle those.
So, and my understanding from what you're saying, Scott, though, that as we're going through this, we're gonna be listing not just the vacant ones, but identifying what businesses we have.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what, as I said, using the story as a gold standard and this type in the inventory,
Yeah.
because that's how they started their process.
I think it's a good idea to do that, actually.
And it's been something that I've been trying to work on, but kind of had a stumbling blocks along the way, so.
Understandable.
One thing I think about when I look at this is, and the danger is it becomes subjective. But if there's some way of ranking the appearance of the building, good, fair, poor.
Well, with the maintenance code, that would kind of give you an objective
yeah.
criteria.
And I feel like that they're related, but I think they're sort of separate issues, because my impression was that with the un or underutilized space question, we're trying to get at, got this old town, riverfront, whatever, downtown core, and it seems like we got spaces sitting vacant that aren't getting used, and that isn't great for community, the economy, etc. It probably also means that people aren't keeping, if you've got a place that's unused, it's probably more likely not to be kept up. But to your point, that could be a separate issue, and we do have code to address it.
There is, I mean, I've read through stories a number of times, their code a few times now too. And they do have, code that's, says you have to keep things up, and then if you can only be vacant for a certain period of time, and measures will be taken.
So Scott, is it your hope to have a list like this for that joint meeting?
Well, I'm gonna send it to the council just before the meeting, let them, so they can look at it, and maybe they have some ideas about what to add on to the inventory, the data points on the inventory. Then I hope to speak on the code, our code as using other codes. I have a list of questions such as, like the enforcement and that type of stuff.
So you don't want this as part of the packet, the agenda packet for the joint meeting?
You can put it in there. Never hurts.
But yeah, the enforcement part, because of the budget and the consequences of the budget. That's, the enforcement part is gonna be, critical part of the equation.
Depends on what the penalties are. Could be lucrative.
Maybe, yeah.
Like in the story, they will, in residential properties, they will take over the property if it's derelict. least that's the way I've read it.
I know City of Portland does that for properties that are residential properties that are vacant too. It is possible. And we're specifically, am I correct in understanding that we're specifically looking at the Riverfront Old Town area at this point? Or are we extending up? the move?
Riverfront and Holden
Okay.
was the idea, but then, as the story looks at all their businesses, and I worry about if we only have code for certain businesses and not others, that there's gonna be issues, legal issues with that.
It seems fairest to apply it to everybody.
Equal protection.
I'm just cognizant that like getting this inventory together, it's going to be easier the smaller pieces you have. Like if you say, we're going to do Bolton first, and then we're gonna get the inventory for Old Town or whatever. But hey, if we're up to get it all, that's great.
Angelica gave me the businesses, all the licenses. Looks like, I don't know, you said that one is pending and the other one is an older one? That's what the idea behind that? Cause it looks like there's just over 400 businesses on the old one and it's over 500 businesses now. So when was the old one done? Do you know?
I do not know. I would have to check with Don.
So, 20% increase.
I can check and let you know.
It's not, imperative. So that's all I got to say about that. Anybody else have any?
Now, as I said, the only piece I'd be interested in is just getting a sense of what the open hours for business were.
I like the time limit part, as far as being vacant too long.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
restriction.
I'm talking about the inventory right now. I mean, it'd be nice, illusions of grandeur of getting this and with some type of plat and have that, as a baseline for other things for the city too. But it is a piece of work.
Well, I don't think we need a motion for this to be part of the packet for the joint meeting, right? So unless people have other material on the proactive items, we've got city council liaison. If you have anything you'd like to share with us.
We talked about the police station.
Yeah.
That's pretty much in the works and the next year have it operational. And then meeting with Vermont Capital, which is in the legal part to sign them up to proceed with some designs. We have some preliminary basic designs for the area. And they're nice. It's just the first blush at what they see. Again, they're looking at it from the monetary value that something's gonna sell and be able to build it. So it sounds pretty positive.
Cool. Unless there are any additional items of an FYI or other nature.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you about the joint meeting. I know we've talked about it several times. We're gonna talk about little planning commission rules. That should be a quick discussion. We need to talk about the St. Helens Industrial Business Park. We had a brief discussion with the council and there's some stuff that the mayor wants to talk about on that. So that'll probably be a pretty significant portion of the joint meeting. And then, of course, our proactive items, as we have discussed as well.
Tell me again the date for the joint.
March 11th, so it's right after the
Right.
meeting
Well,
committee
bigger,
on the
but-
10th.
That's 4 p.m.
I think so.
Cool. Cool. Well, in that case, I think that's all our business, so you are adjourned.
Yeah.
Particular about